succeed. Every great success in your life will represent a triumph of persistence. Your ability to decide what you want, to begin and then to persist through all obstacles and difficulties until you achieve your goals is the critical determinant of your success. And the flip side of persistence is courage. Perhaps the greatest challenge you will ever face in life is the conquest of fear and the development of the habit of courage. Winston Churchill once wrote, "Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend." Fear is and always has been the greatest enemy of mankind. When Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," he was saying that the emotion of fear, rather than the reality of what we fear, is what causes us anxiety, stress, and unhappiness. When you develop the habit of courage and unshakable self-confidence, a whole new world of possibilities opens up for you. Just think, what would you dare to dream, or be, or do, if you weren't afraid of anything in the whole world? The starting point in overcoming fear and developing courage is, first of all, to look at the factors that predispose us toward being afraid. As we know, the root source of fear is childhood conditioning, usually destructive criticism from one or both parents, that causes us to experience two types of fear. These are, first of all, the fear of failure, which causes us to think, I can't. And second, the fear of rejection, which causes us to think, I have to. Because of these fears, we become preoccupied with the fears of losing our money, or our time, or our emotional investment in a relationship. We become hypersensitive to the opinions and possible criticisms of others, sometimes to the point where we're afraid to do anything that anyone else might disapprove of. Our fears tend to paralyze us, holding us back from taking constructive action in the direction of our dreams and goals. We hesitate. We become indecisive. We procrastinate. We make excuses and find reasons to delay. And finally, we feel frustrated, caught in the double bind of, I have to, but I can't, or I can't, but I have to. Fear can be caused by ignorance. When we have limited information, we may be tense and insecure about the outcome of our actions. Ignorance causes us to fear change, to fear the unknown, and to avoid trying anything new or different. But the reverse is also true. The very act of gathering more information and experience in a particular area gives us more courage and confidence in that area. There are parts of your life where you have no fear at all because you have mastered that area, like driving a car, like skiing or selling and managing. Because of your knowledge and experience, you feel completely capable of handling whatever happens. You have no fears. Another factor that causes us fear is illness or fatigue. When we are tired or unwell, when we are not physically fit, we are more predisposed to fear and doubt than when we are feeling healthy and happy and energetic. Sometimes you can totally change your attitude toward yourself and your potential by getting a good night's sleep or taking a vacation long enough to completely recharge your mental and emotional batteries. Rest and relaxation build courage and confidence as much as any other factors. Here's an important point. All intelligent people are afraid of something. It is normal and natural to be concerned about your physical, emotional, and financial survival. The courageous person is not a person who is unafraid. As Mark Twain said, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. It is not whether or not you are afraid. We are all afraid. The question is, how do you deal with the fear? The courageous person is simply one who goes forward in spite of the fear. And here is something else I have learned. When you confront your fears and move toward what you are afraid of, your fears diminish, while at the same time your self-esteem and self-confidence increases. However, when you avoid the thing you fear, your fears grow until they begin to control every aspect of your life. And as your fears increase, your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your self-respect diminish accordingly. As the actor Glenn Ford once said, if you do not do the thing you fear, The fear controls your life. Once we have recognized the factors that can cause fear, the next step in overcoming fear is to sit down and take the time to objectively identify, define, and analyze our own personal fears. At the top of a clean sheet of paper, write the question, what am I afraid of? Begin filling out your list of fears by writing down everything, major and minor, over which you experience any anxiety. Start with the most common fears, the fears of failure or loss, and the fears of rejection or criticism. Some people, dominated by the fear of failure, invest an enormous amount of energy justifying or covering up their mistakes. They cannot deal with the idea of making a mistake. Others, preoccupied by the fear of rejection, are so sensitive to how they appear to others that they seem to have no ability to take independent action at all. Until they are absolutely certain that someone else will approve, they refrain from doing anything. Once you've made a list of every fear that you think may be affecting your thinking and your behavior, organize the items in order of importance. Which fear do you feel has the greatest impact on your thinking or holds you back more than any other? Which fear would be number 2? What would be your third fear? And so on. With regard to your predominant fear, write the answers to these 3 questions. Number 1, how does this fear hold me back in life? Number 2, how does this fear help me? Or how has it helped me in the past? And number 3, what would be my payoff for eliminating this fear? Some years ago, I went through this exercise and concluded that my biggest fear was the fear of poverty. I was afraid of not having enough money, being broke, perhaps even being destitute. I knew that this fear had originated during my childhood because my parents, who grew up during the Depression, had continually worried about money. My fear was reinforced when I was broke at various times during my 20s. I could objectively assess the origins of this fear, but it still had a strong hold on me. Even when I had sufficient money for all my needs, this fear was always there. So my answer to the first question, how does this fear hold me back, was that it caused me to be anxious about taking risks with money. It caused me to play it safe with regard to employment, and it caused me to choose security over opportunity. My answer to the second question, how does this fear help me, was that in order to escape the fear of poverty, I had developed the habit of working much longer and harder than the average person. I was more ambitious and determined. I took much more time to study and learn about the various ways that money could be made and invested. The fear of poverty was, in effect, driving me toward financial independence. When I answered the third question, what would be my payoff for overcoming this fear, I immediately saw that I would be willing to take more risks, that I would be more aggressive in pursuing my financial goals. I could and would start my own business, and I would not be so tense and concerned about spending too much or having too little. Especially, I would no longer be so concerned about the price of everything. By objectively analyzing my biggest fear in this way, I was able to begin the process of eliminating it, and so can you. You can begin the process of developing courage and eliminating fear by engaging in actions consistent with the behaviors of courage and self-confidence. Anything that you practice over and over eventually becomes a new habit. You develop courage by behaving courageously whenever courage is called for. Here are some of the activities you can practice to develop the habit of courage. The first and most important kind of courage is the courage to begin, to launch, to step out in faith. This is the courage to try something new or different, to move out of your comfort zone with no guarantee of success. Dr. Robert Ronstadt of Babson College taught entrepreneurship for many years. He conducted a study of those who took his class and found that only 10% actually started their own businesses and became successful later in life. He could only find one quality that the successful graduates had in common. It was their willingness to actually start their own businesses as opposed to continually talking about it. He discovered the corridor principles that I spoke about earlier. As these individuals moved forward toward their goals, as though proceeding down a corridor, doors opened to them that they would not have seen if they had not been in forward motion. It turned out that the graduates of his entrepreneurship course who had done nothing with what they had learned were still waiting for things to be just right before they began. They were unwilling to launch themselves down the corridor of uncertainty until they could somehow be assured that they would be successful, something which never occurred. The future belongs to the risk-takers, not the security seekers. Life is perverse in the sense that the more you seek security, the less of it you have. But the more you seek opportunity, the more likely it is that you will achieve the security that you desire. Whenever you feel fear or anxiety, and you need to bolster your courage to persist in the face of obstacles and setbacks, switch your attention to your goals. Create a clear mental picture of the person that you would like to be, performing the way you would like to perform. There's nothing wrong with thoughts of fear as long as you temper them with thoughts of courage and self-reliance. Whatever you dwell upon grows, so be careful. The mastery of fear and the development of courage are essential prerequisites for a happy, successful life. With a commitment to acquire the habit of courage, you will eventually reach the point where your fears no longer play a major role in your decision-making. You will set big, challenging, exciting goals, and you'll have the confidence of knowing that you can attain them. You will be able to face every situation with calmness and self-assurance. And the key is courage. What if you could sit down with one of the most successful men or women in our society and learn from him or her all the lessons that he or she had taken a lifetime to gather? Do you think that would help you to be more successful? What if you could sit down with 100 of the most successful men and women who ever lived and learn from their rules, their lessons, and their secrets of success? Would that help you to be more successful in your own life? What if you could sit down over time with more than 1,000 highly successful men and women? How about 2,000 or 3,000? Your answer is probably that spending time with these extremely successful men and women, learning what they learned in order to achieve their goals, would be of great help to you. The truth is, however, that all of this advice and input would do you no good at all unless you took some specific action on what you had learned. If learning about success was all that it took to do great things with your life, then your success would be guaranteed. The bookstores are full of self-help books, each one of them loaded with ideas that you can use to be more successful. The fact is, however, that all of the best advice in the world will only help you if you can motivate yourself to take persistent, continuous action in the direction of your goals until you succeed. The probable result of your reading the ideas in this book has been that you have made some specific decisions about things that you are going to do more of and things that you're going to do less of. You've set certain goals for yourself in different areas of your life, and you have made resolutions that you are determined to follow through on. The most important question for your future now is simply, will you do what you have resolved to do? The most important single quality for success is self-discipline. Self-discipline means that you have the ability within yourself, based on your strength of character and willpower, to do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. Character is the ability to follow through on a resolution after the enthusiasm with which the resolution was made has passed. It is not what you learn that is decisive for your future. It is whether or not you can put your head down and discipline yourself to pay the price over and over until you finally obtain your objective. You need self-discipline in order to set your goals and make plans for their accomplishment. You need self-discipline to continually revise and upgrade your plans with new information. You need self-discipline to use your time well and to always concentrate on the one thing, the most important thing that you need to do at the moment. You need self-discipline to invest in yourself every day, to build yourself up personally and professionally, to learn what you need to learn in order to enjoy the success of which you are capable. You need self-discipline to delay gratification, to save your money, and to organize your finances so that you can achieve financial independence in the course of your working lifetime. You need self-discipline to keep your thoughts on your goals and dreams, and to keep them off of your doubts and fears. You need self-discipline to respond positively and constructively in the face of every difficulty. Perhaps the most important demonstration of self-discipline is your level of persistence when the going gets tough. Persistence is self-discipline in action. Persistence is the true measure of individual human character. Your persistence is, in fact, your real measure of your belief in yourself and your ability to succeed. Each time that you persist in the face of adversity and disappointment, you build up the habit of persistence. You build pride, power, and self-esteem into your character and your personality. You become stronger and more resolute. You deepen your levels of self-discipline and personal strength. You develop in yourself the iron quality of success, the one quality that will carry you forward and over any obstacle that life can throw in your path. Successful people and entrepreneurs are all characterized by indomitable willpower and unshakable persistence. Here's a story for you. In 1895, America was in the grip of a terrible depression. A man living in the Midwest lost his hotel in the midst of this depression and decided to write a book to motivate and inspire others to persist and carry on in spite of the difficulties facing the nation. His name was Orison Swett Marden. He took a room above a livery stable, and for an entire year he worked night and day writing a book, which he entitled Pushing to the Front. Late one evening he finally finished the last page of his book, written by hand, and being tired and hungry, he went down the street to a small cafe for dinner. While he was gone for an hour, the livery stable caught on fire, and by the time he got back his entire manuscript, more than 800 pages, had been destroyed by the flames. Nonetheless, drawing on his inner resources, he sat down and spent another year writing the book over again from scratch. When the book was finished, he offered it to various publishers, but no one seemed to be interested in a motivational book with the country in such a depression and unemployment so high. He then moved to Chicago and took another job. One day he mentioned this manuscript to a friend of his who happened to know a publisher. The book, Pushing to the Front, was subsequently published and became the runaway bestseller in the nation. Pushing to the Front was acclaimed by the leading business people and politicians in America as being the book that brought America into the 20th century. It exerted an enormous impact on the minds of decision-makers throughout the country and became the greatest single classic in all of personal development. People like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and J.P. Morgan all read this book and were inspired by it. Orison Swett Marden says in his book that there are two essential requirements for success. The first is get-to-itiveness, and the second is stick-to-itiveness. Just like Confucius said more than 4,000 years ago, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Elbert Hubbard wrote, "There is no failure except in no longer trying. There is no defeat except from within, no really insurmountable barrier save our own inherent weakness of purpose." All of these successful men had learned how critical the quality of persistence is in achieving great goals and objectives. Successful men and women are hallmarked by their incredible persistence, by their refusal to quit, no matter what the external circumstances. The one quality that absolutely guarantees success in business, in financial accumulation, and in life is this indomitable willpower and the willingness to stick at it when everything in you wants to stop and rest or go back and do something else. Disappointments and adversity are normal and natural, unavoidable parts of life. No matter how well you organize yourself and your activities, you will experience countless disappointments, setbacks, obstacles, and adversity over the course of your life. And the higher and more challenging the goals you set for yourself, the more disappointment and adversity you will experience. This is the paradox. It is impossible for us to evolve and grow and develop to our full potentials except to the degree to which we face adversity and learn from it. All of the great lessons of life come as the result of setbacks and temporary defeats which we have done our utmost to avoid. Adversity therefore comes unbidden, in spite of our best efforts. And yet, without it, we cannot grow into the kind of people who are capable of scaling the heights and achieving great goals. Throughout history, great thinkers have reflected on this paradox and have concluded that adversity is the test that you must pass on the path to accomplishing anything worthwhile. Herodotus, the Greek philosopher, said, "Adversity has the effect of drawing out strength and qualities of a man that would have lain dormant in its absence." The very best qualities of strength, courage, character, and persistence are brought out in you when you face your greatest challenges and you respond to them positively and constructively. Everyone faces difficulties every step of the way. The difference between the high achiever and the low achiever is simply that the high achiever utilizes adversity and struggles for growth, while the low achiever allows difficulties and adversity to overwhelm him or her and leaves him or her discouraged and dejected. The work by Abraham Zalesnik at Harvard proved that the way you respond to disappointment is usually an accurate predictor of how likely you are to achieve great success. If you respond to disappointment by learning the very most from it, and then by putting it behind you and pressing forward, you are very likely to accomplish great things in the course of your life. There's another remarkable discovery. Your greatest success almost invariably comes one step beyond where everything inside of you says to quit. Men and women throughout history have been amazed to find that their great breakthroughs came about as a result of persisting in the face of all disappointment and all evidence to the contrary. This final act of persistence, which is often called the persistence test, seems to precede great achievements of all kinds. H. Ross Perot, who started EDP Industries with $1,000 and who built it into a fortune of almost $3 billion, is one of the most successful self-made entrepreneurs in American history. He said this, "Most people give up just when they are about to achieve success. They quit on the 1-yard line. They give up at the last minute of the game, 1 foot away from the winning touchdown." You find this principle of persistence of keeping on in the life and work of countless great men and women. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote that every great work, every big accomplishment has been brought into manifestation through holding to the vision, and often just before the big achievement comes apparent failure and discouragement. What you do not see, what most people never suspect of existing, is the silent but irresistible power which comes to your rescue when you fight on in the face of discouragement. The power to hold on in spite of everything, to endure. This is the winner's quality. Conclusion. Take action today. You have now learned perhaps the most comprehensive strategy for setting and achieving goals that has ever been put together in one book. By practicing these rules and principles, you can accomplish more in the coming months and years than most people accomplish in a lifetime. The most important quality you can develop for a lifelong success is the habit of taking action on your plans, goals, ideas, and insights. The more often you try, the sooner you will triumph. There's a direct relationship between the number of things you attempt and your accomplishments in life. Your regular review and practice of these principles will enable you to live an extraordinary life. Nothing can stop you now. Good luck, and thank you for listening.
Production copyright 2004. All rights reserved.